I was remembering what it felt like to be kind of like a slave to my thoughts. And what I mean by being a slave to my thoughts, this is about 5 years ago. I would have a memory, have a thought come up that would be negative. Maybe it'd remind me of someone from my past, or some closure I thought I needed, or a girl I couldn't end up being with. Whatever the thought, it would then immediately trigger another thought into a feeling, into then being obsessed. And I remember actually thinking to myself when I would go down these nostalgic rabbit holes into the past and just get depressed again. I remember getting lost in that for a few months at a time. And like a memory or an idea would come in my head, and I remember getting upset, being like, damn, we're doing this again. This is where we're going. This is where the mind wants to go. And it must want to take me there again because it must mean something. It must mean something, right? If it's coming again. And then I would just get obsessed with this. And I would make so much, I guess, like pain. I'd make a lot of pain. I would make a lot of anger. I'd make a lot of energy through my emotions and get myself stuck in the past in loops again. And then I would hate the loop. So then I would drink. I would watch porn. I would do whatever it took to get me out of that moment, to get me out of this moment. And that was such a difficult chapter of my life. And that was most of my life. I'm 34 today. And I don't think I realized I was doing that until I was like 30, 29 or 30. So in the last 5 years have been a real trip. And what hurts the soul. I have a book by Rumi right here. Rumi. What hurts the soul, it says we tremble, thinking we're about to dissolve into non-existence. But non-existence fears even more than it might be given human form. Loving God is the only pleasure. Other delights turn bitter. What hurts the soul? To live without tasting the water of its own essence. What hurts the soul? To live without tasting the water of its own essence. The water of its own essence. People focus on death and this material earth. They have doubts about soul water. Those doubts can be reduced. Use night to wake your clarity. Darkness and the living water are lovers. Darkness and the living water are lovers. Let them stay up together. When merchants eat their big meals and sleep their dead sleep, we night thieves go to work. Darkness and the living water are lovers. These thoughts that I go into loops in are darkness. That is also the living water. And the living water, here I am trying to get into some teaching moment through a poem. That really spoke to me about this situation. I read this before we started. And it goes back to the opening line. We tremble, thinking we're about to dissolve into non-existence. And that non-existence is more terrifying than being depressed, than being heartbroken, than being stuck in the past. We would rather be incredibly unhappy for a very long time than ever think about dissolving into non-existence. And I'm going to bring this home because I know it feels like I've been all over the place. When I was a slave to my thoughts, it's because I wasn't comfortable with silence. In any silence, all of my thoughts and beliefs would scream for my attention, and I'd hear the one that's the loudest, and I'd surrender to it. I was a slave to my mind. That's what my mind does. The mind thinks thoughts. The mind repeats things. It's up to me to stop it, to not do anything, to notice it, to observe it. And I was never able to do that. And it's just taking me 5 years now to realize that silencing the mind is like the first thing people need help with. You go on. I've been on this journey for 5 years, and along the way, I have made poetry my healing as an expression. I have become extremely intimate with my mortality. I've become a death doula. I have guided people dying. I'm meeting in the darkest corners of life, in prisons, working with men who many are facing life without possibility of parole. And it's like, how can we still be living intentionally throughout all this? So what I'm trying to say is I did all of this healing, all of this cool work that made me grow. And then I'm over here a little bit higher on the mountain. And I'm trying to speak to my lower self who's on the bottom of the mountain, hasn't started climbing. And I'm giving him all of these tips and tricks on how to get to where I am. But it's like, no, just take the first step. And the first step in healing, which brings me to the point of this video, the first step in healing is to quiet the mind. To just have silence. And we can't fathom having silence because we identify with everything else going on. So when we say, I can't be quiet, you are identifying with the noise. You think it's you. You are not the noise. You are whatever's listening to the noise. You are observing. And so I think so many times a lot of people who get into guidance work, into helping people heal and transform and change their lives, find their purpose, yada, yada, I think I can forget what the first point of growth was, where the entry point is to actually make lasting changes into your life. And it's to quiet the mind. And it's to dissociate from the critics. Everything you hear in your head is not you. And this message is to my former self. If you are still watching, thank you. I'm not editing this. I'm just trying to post raw and trying to keep it real and trying to get in the habit of posting more of these videos that I'm doing along with a friend, Fia. If you're watching this, I hate you and I have much gratitude to you. Thank you. All right, y'all. Stay tuned for this next video, but I appreciate you all.